Hi, it's Dena Tollefson and welcome to my studio. It's going to be a great one. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make fun little watercolor cards of fall leaves. So these little watercolor cards can go in envelopes and can be sent to loved ones. You can send them a little fall greeting with these watercolor cards. They're super easy to make, a lot of fun to do using a wet and wet technique and using wet on dry technique. So let's get started. I'll take you step by step through the process and show you all of the things that we're using. Watercolor in tubes. You can also use watercolor in a pan if you like, panned watercolors. I'm using watercolor in tubes. It's basically the same idea. You're going to want to gather some leaves from your yard as inspiration, and then get some watercolor paper. You can use, I'm using watercolor cards here from Strathmore. You can use watercolor cards, or you can use just, regular watercolor paper. You're going to want to hold it down with, I'm using a pH neutral tape from Pro. You can use washi tape or any other kind of tape that you like. What I do like about this tape is it's acid free. But it's actually really simple. There are a few tricks and tips when you are going to paint leaves. So the first little secret thing to do is, the secret to success with painting a leaf is you want to, we'll dip our water, dip the brush in water. You want to do the entire outline, get the entire outline of your leaf wet before you put any color on. So I'm going to now go in with the paintbrush and get just plain water and paint the edges of the leaf, the whole leaf all the way through, including the stem. Get that all the way wet, but don't go beyond the edges. What not to do is just go in and just draw a leaf like this, because it just doesn't look as good as it does as if you can do, watch when I do this instead. If you can go in and let the colors do, if you do like a wet and wet technique like this, you see the difference between, I get a hard edge here, and then here the color is just flowing really beautifully. So let's put a little bit of that color over here as well on the leaf, just going where we have put the water ahead of time on our edges. And what we can do now is allow another color to play in there yet. So let's go in with this yellow. So this yellow, let me get my color chart here. This yellow is a Winsor & Newton Windsor Lemon. Let's come in with some of this Windsor Lemon. And let's just let the paint flow. See these beautiful shapes? But if I just put this lemon on top of here, do you see how this is like what not to do? So we'll have a sign here of we'll call this like no. This is what not to do. And then these are both yes. But do you see how we can get some beautiful, already it's just a pretty autumn leaf just by letting these colors, just letting the water do the work, the beauty of watercolor, this wet and wet technique. I feel like it's super effective for leaves. We can put some green over here on the edges. All right, so this is the first trick, and we're gonna go and take the paintbrush and go all the way. We can go out to the edge, so the paper is already drying slightly, and that's good. We want that. And we can draw some of the color in and out. let's go in, let's add a little orange. So that's the nice thing too about these fall leaves. Let's see, this orange is, let me grab this other color here. This orange is a, which one is that? That's this guy, Windsor orange. Let's add a little Windsor orange to this fella here. That's the nice thing about working on these leaves, is you can really put whatever colors that you like, whatever you're feeling in the moment. You can put those colors in. And let's put a little of that orange. I like this orange color. Let's get some of that orange color going on here as well. We can be inspired by the leaves that we have. All right, now, so if I just add some orange in here, you can see there's a world of difference between what we're doing here versus what we're doing here. Now, you can, in theory, just leave your leaves like this and do nothing more to them, but I want to take it to the next level here, so I'll show you what to do with that. So with a mechanical pencil, I'm gonna just retract this in so that there's no pencil lead showing here at all. But I'll show you, if we emboss here, we can make the effect of leaves. We can make this wonderful effect of veins in our leaves. And we didn't have to paint it at all. We just let the embossing technique, where we just use the a sharp edge, and you can use a mechanical pencil. You could also use if you had a sharp end on your paintbrush, you could use the back of a paintbrush. You could also use a palette knife edge to do that. I'll demonstrate over here with the palette knife edge. So looking at a leaf as a guide, let's draw an edge here. And then we can put some, basically we're just drawing the color back to the center, like that. You see what a difference having the veins in there will do. And now on this one, we'll use the same edge here and up, like that. So this is the next level of complexity, is when you add veins into your leaves. And you can see if I did this on this one, can also add leaf veins. Whoops, this paper tore. This is not watercolor paper. Here's another reason why you want to use watercolor paper. You see that regular paper just tears. But if we do this now, another step that we can do is we can dry it and then come over and do another layer. So let's do that now. So what I'm going to use here is a heat tool or heat gun. And this is my Chandler heat gun, and I'm going to put it on low setting. So what we'll do is we can dry this, and then we can add another layer on top. Now, if you don't have a heat gun or heat tool, you could use a hairdryer, or you can just walk away and come back later, and then paint it. But what you want to do is you want this surface to be bone dry before you put another layer of paint on. And we would know that it's bone dry because there will be no shine. So if I show you now, if I lift this up and just show you a little bit, you can see that there's a shine. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little bit of a shine to the paper. So let's go in. Okay, so now our paintings, our little leaf paintings, are completely dry. And I can tell that they're completely dry because when I lift it up, there's no shininess anywhere. It's just a matte finish everywhere, and I can touch it and it's totally dry. It doesn't leave any paint on my fingers. So then at this point, what you can do is you can go in and take an eraser, a regular pencil eraser or like a jet eraser like this, and you can go in and erase any of your marks, your pencil marks that you don't want to show. And then the trick with after you erase, to get the extra crumbs of eraser off, is to go in and use a clean, dry brush, paintbrush, and then just sweep the crumbs away, the brush crumbs, paint crumbs, or brush crumbs, eraser crumbs. Brush those away. So we'll get just a clean, dry brush. And it's kind of like being at the haircut shop, and then when the haircut person brushes off the hair, it's kind of like brushing off hair after a haircut. Brush, brush, brush. We'll get all of these eraser crumbs out of the way. So at this point, you might, if you're looking for just a light and airy look to your painting, you might choose to leave it just as it is and then sign it and, call it good at that point. You can certainly do that, or you can go and do another layer. So I would like to do another layer on here where we're going to refine some of the things and add another layer of complexity. And I'll show you how we do that. So this is also an opportunity then to fix anything that is problematic. So I'm looking at this leaf over here, and I'm loving the shapes and the things that are happening here, but I don't like what's happening here. So I'll show you what you can do. If you have something like that in your work, you can go in and I don't really see any of those other problems here on these other leaves, but just right over here we have a bad hard edge. So I'll show you what we can do is you can just take clean water just on a brush, and you can go in and just lay water over the top, and that will just soften. And what will happen is you can kind of tease the color a little bit and get it to flow. So that's one way to fix if you have an issue where you have paint that has made a hard edge. Now, I'll also show you what we can do if we want to, for example, work on some of these edges. So in looking at this particular leaf, this leaf has a lot, and this one too, they have a lot of kind of pointy edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-wet, again, I can pre-wet over the top of what we already have, and I can make some kind of what I'll just describe as kind of pointed edges, or little peaks, little doodads here on the edge of our leaves, and then we can come back with some new paint over the top and get the edges that we're looking for. So I don't want to mix the paint that's already there. What we're going to do is just add a little bit additional paint. So let's pick a color. So we were working with the, what color was that here? We were working with the Winsor & Newton magenta. Let's go in with, I'm thinking I'm liking this color. So this one is which one is that? That's the Holbein Mineral Violet. We could use that. And get some kind of edges here, or we also could use, there's a color here that's quite nice. This is the Daniel Smith Potter's Pink. Let's use the Daniel Smith Potter's Pink on some of these edges. Add a little bit of pigment here, so I'm going to go in with the brush. And we're just going to go in and touch in lightly on the areas that we pre-wet. And we can make these little pointy shapes on our leaf. And add kind of just another layer of complexity. So let's do that same thing over here on this leaf, and also noting that our stems are really dark on these leaves. Let's go back in with some of that Daniel Smith Potter's Pink and draw in a shape. And we're going to let that flow up through the bottom of this leaf. Let that color flow. All right, so now let's go over to this leaf over here and let's do a similar kind of idea. So we're going to try and get some little pointy things happening on the edges of our leaves. So we're going to pre-wet and put the shapes in that we want first with just plain water. And you might be wondering, why are you doing plain water first? And that's because in order to do the wet and wet technique, and I'll demonstrate here on our don't leaf. I will demonstrate. If I go in and pre-wet first, we'll do that on this half, and then put the color on. What kind of an effect we can get. And if instead we just go right in on this side with the pigment. You see that it gives a different effect when we pre-wet it first. So pre-wetting it will give an effect that is more a gentler look. And it's also going to blend better with the areas of the leaf that we had first painted. So this layering effect that we can get. Let's also go in, and I did not pre-wet the stem. So I'm going to go in and I'll show you what that looks like if you just lay another color on top. Then we can get a effect of you can get a strong effect or a more harsh effect if you just go in and just lay the color, but don't pre-wet it first. All right, so on this stem, I'm going to come in with quite a bit of pigment here, and this color is this is the Holbein Mineral Violet. Let's now come back in here with this stem and add some dark effects. And we're just going to let the pigment flow on that. We'll add a little bit of dark here as well. And then on this leaf, we'll add a stem. We'll do that. I'm really not wanting to touch this one too much. I'm really liking how this leaf is already looking. So we'll just do a couple of little edges. just to further define the leaf. And this is called, what I'm doing here is called wet over dry. So we did not pre-wet this part of the leaf. You can see that what's going to happen here is because I did not pre-wet that, that's going to leave a hard edge. So I need to wet around it so that the color will be softened and will travel nicely. Just like that. There we go. I can add a little bit of yellow on top of that. Let those colors kind of just mingle. Strengthen that color. Same thing with the yellow. Can add a little bit more of this yellow color in here. Can strengthen and bring in, restate the orange. Strengthen that orange color. Same thing with the orange here. Now here, I need to come back in and wet this so that the color will travel. So on this one, I feel like I've now put too much on. So let me show you here what you can do. If you get too much pigment on, you can come back and dab it off if you get too much. So just turn the cloth. And I'd like to add a little bit of a darker green. Let's get some greens. Come back with our bright green and mix those two together. And we can then dab off the extra and get some kind of a tie-dye effect. All right, and on this leaf yet, I want to just do a little something on the base, and then I think that one looks good. Let's just put a little bit of red here on the base. And dab off the extra. Oops, let's put a little bit more back on. There, that's nice. And take off. There we go. All right, so then now when you get your leaves as colorful as you want them to be, then the last step is to go ahead and sign. So I'm going to sign with just a pencil, and I'll use a graphite. You can use any kind of a pencil. I'm just going to sign over here. I'll sign here. So when you make a handmade card, it's important to sign your name because the recipient is going to want to know that you made it especially for them. And it also it documents your work. All right, so now that we did that, we can then dry this and then take off the tape and then see what we've got. All right, now our leaves are completely dry, and so we're gonna now be able to reveal the greeting cards below. Let's get this tape peeled off. It's always so satisfying to peel the tape off. I don't know why that is, but it's just very satisfying to do that. Let's get this peeled off over here. All right. And also you want to make sure that your, before you take your tape off, make sure the paper's totally dry before you take it off. And here we go. Now I can see I want to do a little bit of I've got a bad edge here on this leaf. So if that happens to you, let me show you what you can do. Let's go ahead and just finish that leaf a little bit. We're going to reactivate it with some water. And let's go back in with our colors and just add a little bit more pigment on top and just let that play. Add a little bit there, add a little bit of our orange, and then we can blot off the extra. Let's get a cloth and blot off the extra. There. And we'll do this so we have like a rough edge. We'll do a couple of little finesses here with the corner. All right, there we go. So I want to thank you so much for being here today, and I hope that you have a great day. Let's fold one of these cards up and put it in an envelope. And it'll be a nice little gift for someone to get in the mail, huh? All right, so I hope that you have fun making your own cards and being inspired by all of the beauty that God makes with nature, with leaves, and have a lot of fun with it. All right, so until next time, it's Dena Tollefson, and all my best to you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, my art club members. I appreciate you.